Well, a good, what is this, Wednesday evening to everyone. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. Welcome to the new Cosmic Knowledge channel. And I want to thank all of you for the great birthday wishes that I've received today from many of you. I appreciate it very much. It is my, what is it, my 55th birthday here today. So very happy to have been able to spend this many days above the ground. You know, sometimes life is hard, but it always beats the alternative, I think. But I do appreciate you sending me the birthday wishes. I've had many people ask where can they make a birthday contribution, and really, if I were you and you wanted to make a birthday contribution, thank you so much, Sandra D. Just go ahead and get yourself a MYSTECH. Help yourself with it. Get yourself a session with me. No sense in just doing a donation for birthday. Do something that will help you, and do something that will help me help you. So thank you very much for all of the wishes, and that's the answer to those of you that have sent those questions. Sandra and I had well, I'll just tell you, the sun came out. It wasn't supposed to come out. It hasn't been out in a couple of weeks, and we decided that it'd be a great time to get out in the sun and enjoy some sun. That coat of arms is the O'Docharte coat of arms for my clan in Ireland. And we decided that we'd get out in the sun. So the sun caused us to postpone the Serpent and Dove show until tomorrow, but you'll see the Serpent and Dove show in its entirety tomorrow. And it's going to be a really, really good show. So today, speaking of really, really good shows, I want to talk to you about hidden wisdom from John, the Apostle John, and the Sophia Christos. So deep stuff. Powerful stuff, interesting stuff. Also watched the show from yesterday with Halo Marquise. We talked about the MYSTECH movement, the MYSTECH magic, changing your life. And we also talked about astral projection. Astral projection. Is your last name also Daugherty, Power Vapor Supply, Destroyer, Obstructor? And we'll get to that because that's important as we discuss the subject at hand tonight. So I want to talk to you about just like I said, the hidden truths of John and the Sophia Christos. Going to be a very interesting presentation tonight. I'm going to do it, I guess, Steiger style again tonight, as we like to say. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up for you and bring it up. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat room. I probably will refrain from going to the chat during most of the program, but once we get to the end, I will go ahead and go back to the chat room and we'll be able to answer all of your questions. You won't leave here with them unsatisfied, I promise you. So the hidden wisdom of John and the Sophia Christos. And the question that I'm asking is a question I never thought that I would ask. It's a staggering question. It's even a stunning question. Was the Apostle John the true master? What if there was no guy called Jesus, called Yeshua, called the Master? What if the Word become flesh was actually the Apostle John? What if there really was no John the Baptist? It was just a story. But what if the Apostle John was the true master? I know some of you probably think I flipped my lids, but as we break this down, let's look at the Sophia Christos. And Sophia means wisdom. Sophia means wisdom. So the first incarnation of the Christos, or of the Master, was wisdom. And it's interesting that incarnation was female. We all know, especially those of us raised in the South, that it's ladies first. And I believe that I've proven to you without much shadow of a doubt on this program over the years that Sophia manifests herself in Lilith, not Eve. She manifests herself in Lilith to make amends for the terrible mistake she made by birthing Yaldabaoth, who we used to know as the Lord Yahweh. He's been either bumped off or cast out. I tend to think he's been cast out. Maybe he's been bumped off, whatever, he's gone. But Sophia went under a time of correction, as it's known. And for those thousands of years, who knows how long it was, she was actually in a reduced state. You know, when I was in Bible college, we had this thing that we called the kenosis of Christ. That means that the God emptied himself to come down into human form. And while it was wrong, it wasn't completely wrong, because there was a kenosis of a goddess, the kenosis of Sophia, who was the first Christ. She manifested in Lilith. Why would she do it? To remind us, so that we would always have the memory somewhere in our memory banks that we are divine, we are sovereign, we are free, that we were created as spiritual beings in the image of the Elohim, so that we would remember that long before we ever got conned into the mud bodies of that were created by the Lord, Yaldabaoth, lovingly referred to as the rat bastard, we would know and would never forget that these bodies aren't us, and that we're better than this, we're beyond this, and we're destined to move above this. And I believe with the last full solar eclipse we had, August of last year, that was the end of the correction of Sophia. That was it. She's back. The fullness of the female Christ, the first Christ, or Christos, has been revealed. Now we're living in the fullness of the completed Christ, because the Christos, or the male Christ, if you will, the one that came, I still believe, even though there's no empirical evidence, that still came around AD 234 and stayed till AD 32, 33, 34, 35. So Sophia means wisdom. John, or more correctly, Yohanan, as his name would have actually have been, means grace. So if Sophia, the first Christ, is wisdom, what better to go with wisdom than grace? And does not wisdom and grace encapsulate the message of the Master? Even Christians say that Jesus, quote unquote, is the epitome of grace. So I have to ask the question tonight, was John the second Christos? Was John himself the Master? And it may not be as preposterous as some of you are thinking that it might be. This might be a good time to stop back in the chat room and just see where everybody's head is. See if they've blown up, see if their brains are lying all over the floor. So let's talk about it. Let's talk Pistis Sophia. I think we are. Jeff flips lids every day. Thank you. Good evening, Jeff and Sandra. Thank you very much. We were just watching Rex. They were talking the Colburn Bible. I don't know a whole lot about that. I know that it was supposedly written by the devil overnight. Very interesting. Hello, sweet Sandra. Thank you very much. Jeff, I forgot to mention today is my youngest daughter's birthday, lucky 23. Excellent. So let's get back into our study then, and I'll bring out some more of this mind-blowing, interesting stuff for you. So let's go back, and we're gonna have to move up again. So John means, again, or Yohanan means grace. Sophia means wisdom. What better to go with wisdom than grace? Wisdom and grace encapsulate the message of the Master. Was John the second Christos? Well, Jeff, why would you say John was the second Christos, or John was the Master? Well, Scripture records and tradition records that John was known as the disciple that Christ loved. John chapter 20, verse number 2 talks about the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved. And within that scripture, you could see that there was a little bit of friction. There was something under the surface there. I used to think it was the other disciples were ashamed or were jealous of John, but what if John was the Master and it's just a little ripple or wrinkle in the scripture that calls your attention to it? I've studied the Bible for 36 years, almost 40 years now. And I'm a Bible college graduate. I have over 100,000 hours in the study of the biblical text. I started when I was 17. Do the math if you want to waste your time. It's there. And the one thing that I've discovered more than anything else, if you want to understand biblical scriptures, and if you want to look for the diamonds, because folks, 80% of it is dung, garbage, not worth reading. Well, it's dung and it's garbage. Some of it's worth reading. And the 20% that is diamond in the words of Thomas Jefferson, and which I wholly concur with, you have to begin to look for clues. You have to begin able to see things. And one of the things that calls your attention to a diamond is if the prose doesn't match, if there's some kind of a logical disconnection, if there's just something that makes you say, huh? If it makes you want to read it over 2 or 3 times, you may have found a diamond. And this is one of those things in John chapter 20, verse number 2, at least in my view. So not only was John known as the disciple that Christ loved, and if I get into the Greek, if I wanted to really not stretch it, but if I wanted to take the full scholarly leeway that I could claim, I could say that John was known as the disciple of love. And of course, we know that God is love. Was John God? But as we go on and we look at the New Testament as it was written Matthew, Mark, all the apostles and the false apostle Paul wrote, and the thing was closed. And then 40 years after Paul wrote, 60 years after the apostles wrote, John sits down and writes the comprehensive declaration of New Testament wisdom. He wrote the book of John, he wrote 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, and he wrote the non-dung parts of the book of Revelation. So it was John that wrote the last will and testament of the apostolic era. John, more than any other figure, epitomized, memorialized the true message of the Master. A lot of people wonder, why didn't Jesus write anything? Maybe it's because he wasn't real. And why wouldn't the Master have written words that we need to understand what happened in the building of his message? Well, John did. John, the disciple of love, the disciple of Christos love, the writer of the comprehensive declaration of New Testament wisdom, the writer of the last will and testament of the apostolic era, the one that more than any other epitomized, memorialized the true message of the Master. Could John have been the true Master? And before we go to some anecdotal evidence from my own life, let's take a quick look back into the chat room. And I want to talk a little bit about how revelation comes to me. And let's see what people have to say in here. Why couldn't John be the second Christos if we're all Christ in training? Absolutely. I'm blowing up a bit. Sophia, first Christos. What about the first Adam? Go ahead and blow up. It's in there. I've done a lot of videos on them. Search Sophia on this channel. You'll find it. Anyone can leave this world through a portal is definitely a master. And remember, folks, that's right. John, he didn't die. He walked into a room and disappeared from sight. He went through a portal. And it said that Jesus went up and disappeared from sight. Were they really talking about John? It's the same thing, ladies and gentlemen. And there's evidence of John. There's writings from John. There's none of that from this guy called Jesus. Mary Magdalene is the one who Jesus loved. Well, he loved them both, but probably in, maybe some of you think, in a different way. Sophia did create Yaldabaoth without consent of her cohort. Unfortunately, you have to dive headfirst into all the dung to get any of the diamond. That's true. There's a lot of creations that would like to reach the true heaven, but did not wait and still don't understand his message. I would say this message. Hope, just email me at newcosmicknowledge@gmail.com, and you can get the free book for subscribing to Sandra's channel. And I'll still extend that offer. If you go and subscribe to Sandra D's channel, I will give you a free ebook from my collection. All you have to do is tell me the one that you want. I don't think John faked his death. I think he didn't die. He just walked into this portal. Will this knowledge about John provide a better way to live? I think so. The beginning equals Sophia equals female equals wisdom. The end equals John equals male equals grace. Very well put together, Robin. I like it. And I'm not going to do the Jim Carrey thing, even though I really want to do it because it's just so cliche and I don't want to be cliche. So anyway, let's move on and get into some anecdotal evidence from my own personal life. And let me talk to you a little bit about how revelation comes to me, how inspiration comes to me, how sometimes I get it. I don't usually dream dreams, but I will at times go to sleep and ask questions. And it's usually, I'm very much like Nikola Tesla. He used to, and they say that this was Edison. It wasn't Edison, it was Tesla. He would hold a big thing of keys in his hand, like those big skeleton keys. He'd sit in a chair and he'd hold his hands out and he'd fall asleep. And of course, when he fell asleep, the keys would fall out of his hand, make a big noise, hit the floor, and he would wake up. And he said he got most of his brilliant insight in those instances when he woke up. That's the way a lot of times inspiration comes to me. I wake up in the morning, boom. A lot of times I'm in the shower. I wonder why the shower, but water, as Hala was telling us the other day, is a great connecting point between us and spirit. So a lot of times when I'm in the water, a lot of times when I'm walking on the earth, I get these inspirations. And then a lot of times, it's been a while, but I'll get inspiration from people that come into my life. And if you're a very spiritual person, you're not a believer in coincidence. And some of these things, that's just coincidence. Well, when Sandra D'Angelo walked into my life, I began to level up and go to a deeper place, a higher place. I'm up to 10 minutes now meditating. And it's interesting because I was talking with Sandra today and a subject came up and we had a discussion about it. And it's funny how I said to Sandra that meditation will get into your business, because this thing happened and I thought that I'm just defending Sandra. I'm watching out for Sandra. I'm worrying about Sandra. But then if you drill down a little bit, you realize that, yeah, you are, but the core nut of that is something that you want. So meditation allows you to step outside of the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, the fears, the passions. It allows you to sit in what Sandra, who's my meditation instructor, calls the seat of self. And you can just view all this stuff is out there, but I'm here. So meditation has helped me to separate from my thoughts, my beliefs, and it's even allowed me to separate from my motives. So I'm able to look at my motives and understand my motives much more thoroughly. And that's helping me grow to become a better person. I have to tell you, it ticks me off now and again, but it's true. So I say all that to say this: Sandra D'Angelo, not a believer in coincidence myself. Sandra means the defender of mankind. It carries a warrior intention. So here comes someone into my life and I fall head over heels in love with her. She's my partner in this work and in life. And she gave me a beautiful gift today that encapsulates her feelings for me. And I want her to know I feel exactly the same way. But defender of mankind with a warrior intention. D means sacred and or goddess, and Angela means a messenger or angel. So this defender of mankind with a warrior intention, this sacred goddess comes into my life, and I've been receiving messages. I've been receiving communication from on high. Many of you have said, boy, Sandra, you've helped Jeff round off his hard edges. You've helped Jeff move from just the fire and brimstone CWB into a more broader new cosmic knowledge, and she has. So this defender of mankind with a warrior intention, the sacred goddess, has brought me messages, has been as an angel to me of revelation into my life. And this is part of it. And this is how revelation comes into my life. And this is one of the ways. And more evidence, anecdotal evidence from my life. Sandra's beautiful daughter, her name is Sophia Ann. Sophia means wisdom. Ann means grace. Sophia means wisdom, and John means grace. Sophia Ann is exactly the same words as Sophia John. It's wisdom, grace. So Sophia, the original manifestation of the Christ, the female Christ. John, the manifestation of the male Christ, wisdom and grace. Sophia and John. Coincidences like that don't happen they just don't happen. At least I don't believe it happens. So the fact that, how do I go backwards? Just like that, that Sandra D'Angelo, defender of mankind, sacred goddess, messenger, comes into my life, bringing revelation into my life, has a little girl that's wisdom, grace, exactly the same as Sophia John. And I was thinking about this thing. Wow. That's evident. That to me, that is anecdotal evidence. It's extra evidence. This is how Spirit speaks to me many times. And finally, more anecdotal evidence. And this is where we get to why the coat of arms was up on the show page at the beginning. Jeffrey means peace of God. Alan, my middle name, means harmony, stone, noble. I try to be a rock. I try to be strong. I try to be steadfast. Many people describe me in those terms. I don't know if I'm living up to it, but it's at least my highest desire to be of that. I try to be noble. Integrity is at the core of my being. Everything I do is centered on integrity. I won't do anything that's not in integrity. I have a real hard time when people around me act in ways that's not in integrity. And even tonight I had a situation where someone was acting not in integrity, and I was so upset that I had to leave and just go and take a minute, because I was with Sandra and I didn't want her to think that my issue was with her. So I had to go and take a minute. That's something that I've learned. So, and yet I still try to bring harmony, peace, that you're divine, you're sovereign, you're free. So the peace of God, but yet it's kind of like walk softly and carry a big stick. Try to bring the peace, but sometimes you got to put a piece of wood up against somebody's head to get them to understand, metaphorically, rhetorically speaking, obviously. Sometimes that's why I wax colorful, because I'm putting the peace of God through a piece of wood upside your head to get you to realize and wake up. You know how it is in the movies when people are hysterical, and they smack them, they come back to themselves. That's kind of the way I am sometimes, because that's the way I am. Because Darty means obstructive. It means destroyer. So on one hand, I'm bringing the peace of God. I'm walking softly. On the other hand, I'm carrying a big stick. I'm obstructive and a destroyer. But yet in the middle, I'm trying to bring harmony. And I'm trying to do it through bringing you to this hard rock foundation of spiritual truth and reality, and through the nobility of integrity. And when someone that walks into my life that has the name of defender of mankind, sacred goddess, messenger, or angel, who is also rooted in nothing other than integrity, and she brings a little girl with her with the exact same name as the completed Christ, ladies and gentlemen, it gets my attention. It gets the attention of peace of God, obstructive destroyer, trying to bring everything into harmony, getting you on the rock so your name's on the roll, and trying to be noble and moving in integrity with it. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I think it is at least worth talking about. I think it's at least worth exploring. I think it's at least worth taking a look at. So let's get back to the chat room and see what's going on there, answer some questions before we get out of here. I talked about the free ebook. We talked about John. Hi, Jeff. Great topic. Thank you, Daniel. So John said the one that Christ loved, the Christ said, love yourself. Oh, Truth Apocalypse laying down some beautiful truth. John is said to be the one that Christ loved. The Christ said, love yourself. So the Christ is John. That's beautiful. Well put together. If Christ said, love yourself, and the Christ loved John, then John was the Christ. That's better than anything I just spent 2 hours studying. Truth Apocalypse, way to go. Way to go. He probably did step into a different dimension. Water, absolutely. Halo did have a good point about water. No such thing about coincidence. Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. Thank you, dear, for that. Very well explained. Thank you very much. I am having a great birthday. Best birthday that I've ever had. Love that. Eliora. We do help each other. Thank you, my love. You two are beautiful. Oh, and you can't help but feel the love. Very well explained. Thank you very much. John is female. I'm not going to argue with you. Spirit speaks to Sandra in those type of ways also. Delaney Jackson loves it, so it's got to be good. It's so true, Sandra. Spirit speaks within our reality, which consciousness is creating. Mr. Alphaster, AB3, you do me too much honor, sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar. There's so few of us left. And I do appreciate you saying that. Jeff doesn't set the bar, he is the bar. I don't agree with that, but I do appreciate you saying that very, very much. Meditation gives you that half-second delay, so you don't say, where'd that go? Don't say, where'd that go? Gives you that half-second delay. Where the heck did that go? That you don't say something distasteful. It does help with that because it gives you a chance to separate yourself from the thoughts, the words, the deeds, all that stuff. When man's in touch with this divine feminine and women are in touch with their divine male, they're in complete cosmic union. Absolutely. Striving for a balance. Jeff, have you attempted to find a connection between all names through numerology? That's a little bit beyond my skill set right now, but I'm sure there is one. I'll leave that to Tricia G. The stones in the earth help harmonize everything. Thank you. Wow. Elior, can we just call you Ellie? I don't know why I can't say your name. Thank you very much. And then I remember Deborah L. Smith talking to us about the stones. Okay, wait a minute. I agree with almost everything you say in the past, but you kind of lost me on Sophia as Christos. Go back, sitting with God, look at just Google, all you have to do, I'll show you how to do it on my channel. Here you're on my channel, right? Well, I don't want to go to my channel and just go up here in the search bar and put Sophia. Hit the search, it'll show you all the videos I've made on Sophia. If you're making this up, oh, come on, Bonsai, let's don't go there. Sophia was over the 12th heaven and created Yaldabaoth by mistake. Okay. Sandra D, if you have time in the future, I'd love to speak with you. Sandra D is offering counseling on a donation basis, so feel free to contact her at sandee77@gmail.com. sandee77@gmail.com. sandee77@gmail.com, or you can communicate with me and I'll pass it along to her. Sophia went and repented to the Father, was forgiven, and the only Son was the Christ. At least that's my understanding. I disagree with you sitting with God, but that's okay. We're not in a situation where I have to be right all the time and you have to be wrong all the time. We're allowed to have, and we should have, discussion, liberty, amidst unity. I don't agree with everything Sandra believes, and she doesn't agree with everything I believe. I don't get it. I don't know why she can't be reasonable and do it my way, but she doesn't. And that's okay. Maybe one of these days, she's young yet, she might learn. Of course, to be honest, I've learned more from her than she's learned from me. And that's no exaggeration. I'm not just trying to be nice. I really have. And Sandra's birthday is on Sunday. So if you want to help her out or give her a present or say happy birthday, now you know when you can do that. Jeff, you're one of a kind. No one can ever replace you. Thank you. I'm one of a kind, just like everybody else. I do get this senior citizen discount now. That's awesome. Thanks for making me feel old. Appreciate it. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. We all respect each other's opinions. Absolutely. We don't have to agree. The mark of an enlightened individual is to be able to entertain an opinion without holding it themselves. Sense of humor is good. Discussion uncovers possible solutions. Women create birth. Men destroy and kill. That's probably a little overstated, but I get where you're coming from. April, using her hubby's phone. Happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you, Laura. Hello, April. And I think we've reached the end of the chat room. Again, thank you for the happy birthday wishes. Let me just run you through this one more time so we don't leave you guessing. I want you to, I shut it down. Go back and watch this again. And we're going to have the Serpent and Dove program tomorrow. And we're going to have it on Sandra's channel. in a blatant attempt to help Sandra get more viewers and more viewer time on her channel. And we may do that on an alternating week basis. So I'll remind you tomorrow on this channel that we're going to be on Sandra's channel. So look for the Serpent and Dove show tomorrow. It's going to be a barn burner. Trust me. And until then, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is the New Cosmic Knowledge channel. Think about it. The Christ said to love yourself. The Christ was said to love John. Was John the Christ? And it'll be about 11 a.m. tomorrow. Wow, lots to think about. I think it will make you a better person to ponder it. And it might just be the answers to some of the things that you've been asking as you ponder these deep truths of arcane mystery, wisdom, and knowledge. We're encouraging you to guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, be your own guru, encouraging you to ask questions and question answers, reminding you you're divine, you're sovereign, you're free. And for Sandra D'Angelo, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, reminding you that at the end of the day, only you can unindoctrinate yourself.